Welcome back to the program. I am joined now by Bill Halter, the former Lieutenant Governor, since we're talking politics, and the CEO of Scenic Hill Solar. Good to see you.
Great to see you again, Roby.
All right, for people that don't know what you've been doing since you departed politics there, what is Scenic Hill Solar and what are you doing?
Scenic Hill Solar is Arkansas's largest solar development company. For the last 7 years, we've been building the industry in Arkansas, and delighted to tell you that to date, we have $200 million worth of projects either built or under contract, building out the industry of the 21st century.
Explain what those projects are. I think people maybe drive down the highways or the interstate sometimes and they see the fields, but they don't really know all that's going on. And then I think there's more to it than just the fields. So.
Absolutely. So what we do is build commercial scale solar power plants for clients. We're either selling them electricity or we're turnkey delivering them the power plants that they in fact own. And you're right, Roby, if you drive down pretty much any Arkansas highway, you're going to see one of our projects. We're pretty conscious about putting them where they're visible to the public, and it has been a booming success here.
Bigger Scenic Hill Solar signs on there. That's my one recommendation. Yeah. All right, this week you guys announced American-made, Arkansas-built. It's a new initiative to kind of onshore some manufacturing that goes on overseas for the components that are needed to build these solar arrays that you're talking about. Tell me a little bit about kind of the state of that portion of the manufacturing industry and what this objective is.
So the initiative, American Made, Arkansas Built, really has a twofold mission. The first is to enhance the amount of American manufactured products in the solar industry. The second is to really focus on Arkansas specifically and try to vault Arkansas into position not just of catching up with the rest of the country, but actually leading. And so what we've done is allied ourselves with the premier American manufacturers of different solar components. So whether that be modules, inverters, racking, steel, data acquisition systems. And so what we're doing is putting a real emphasis on making these plants American made as much as possible. There's a bit of history here. Solar power was an American invention. This really started in Bell Labs. You remember the old Bell Labs with AT&T? That was the initial formulation of this. But unfortunately, about 15 years ago, as a result of Chinese intervention in the market, predatory practices, a whole bunch of very tough, bad acts, America lost the leadership position in these technologies. So today, the vast majority of modules, for example, are manufactured by Chinese companies. Same thing with inverters. This is an attempt, our attempt, to have Arkansas play a role in restoring American preeminence in this industry.
Yeah, certainly feeds into the supply chain stories that we've been saying there.
Yep.
So let's talk about what some of the incentives are that make this work. The Inflation Reduction Act actually had some incentives for the solar industry. Kind of what are they? How do you capitalize on that?
Sure. Two big categories of incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act. The first applies tax credits and accelerated depreciation that's available for the owners of power plants. So if we do a project, for example, for our client L'Oreal in North Little Rock, they receive very generous tax incentives, and this has provided a real boost to the industry. The second category of incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act are for these American manufacturers of solar technology. So they have some additional tax incentives. Essentially there to restart the industry in the country, give them a little bit of a foundation or a floor underneath them, and it's paying off. We're seeing dramatic expansions in the announcements of American manufacturing, and this initiative by Scenic Hill, the American Made, Arkansas Built, ties very much to that, right? We want Arkansas to be in a position to take advantage, take maximal advantage of these two things that are going on. One final point about that, Arkansas is uniquely well positioned to take advantage of this industry. As you know well, we have vast amounts of flat, open farmland. Most people don't realize this. We're the 10th best state in the country from the perspective of the amount of sunshine. We also have two regional transmission organizations that either have a headquarters here, Southwest Power Pool, or have an office here that's very important in MISO.
Right.
This is unique, right? And we want to take advantage of all of these natural advantages and make sure that, for once, Arkansas really maximizes what is possible for us.
We're not changing our moniker to the Sunshine State, okay? Florida's got that one. We'll be the natural state.
The natural state takes care of it, Roby.
All right. What needs to happen on the legislative front? We got an Arkansas session coming up in January. What are some things that you think could happen policy-wise that would help this initiative?
I think two broad categories. We had a really good net metering law that was put in place. It's one of the few areas that Arkansas's policy is better or equal to the rest of the country. That needs to be protected. We can count on the utilities to fiercely oppose that, to attack that. Underlying their attack on that is they simply don't want competitors in the generation business. So protection of net metering is absolutely critical to the establishment and the growth of this industry. Second area is tax policy. We have a circumstance, unfortunately, where in tax policy with respect to renewable energy, the state is way behind other states. We do the wrong thing on property taxes, we do the wrong thing on sales taxes, and we, unfortunately, we're unique in this. We're one of only 2 states out of 50 that has fairly onerous sales tax and property tax provisions on solar, whereas the other states have relaxed those constraints on both. The idea, of course, in every area of tax policy, you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to expand investment rather than restrict it. We have a real opportunity in the state to export a lot of renewable electricity to other states in the country. Every time we build a significant scale power plant, we add to the property tax base in Arkansas, we add to local employment in the construction, we add to the local employment in operations and maintenance. We're providing an additional boost to our rural communities who need help, and we know that they need help. We enhance the national security. Every time that another solar power plant launches, ultimately, that cascades down to less vulnerability to oil price spikes, natural gas price spikes. So it's a multiple win. And I think from a policy perspective, we need to have a holistic view and take maximal advantage of our positioning.
We can see you up there in the halls of the Capitol, twisting some arms, breaking some arms.
You know, unfortunately, I was in the Capitol for the last 2 sessions dealing with these issues. I think if the industry gets attacked again, unfortunately, I'll wind up being up there rather than out talking to new clients. It's vital that we protect this industry. There's no industry in the state that has grown as fast as solar. There's no industry in the state that has a more promising future and has so many tailwinds behind us. But I think the thing that people need to bear in mind, we can squander that and we can leave Arkansas behind again, whereas other states run forward. Smart policy here is important.
What's the state that has, you think, the most forward-thinking policies on this?
There are a number that every state, there's 37 states in the country that don't impose property taxes on solar power plants, right? Okay. They understand that, and most states, the vast majority, don't impose sales taxes on solar power plants.
One last question for you here. I just want a point of clarification here. When you were talking about the energy companies and they're fighting some of the net metering, we got about 60 seconds left here.
Yep.
They are supportive of the solar industry. You see them diversifying into those projects. I mean, I think I get a press release about every 3rd week from, you know, Entergy or electric co-ops with a new field coming on board. So there's support for solar in the industry. It's just
let me push back.
Okay.
They're supportive if they're the only ones that are allowed to own it.
Okay.
That's the critical issue.
All right.
Yep.
We'll leave it there. I'm sure I'll get the opportunity to interview someone that will have a counter position for you on that.
I bet that's true.
All right. He's Bill Halter. He's the CEO of Scenic Solar. Always good to visit with you.
Great to
nice
see you
to
again,
catch
Roby.
up.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. We're back to wrap up right after this.